All right, so we're gonna do a basic look at pistol maintenance for cleaning. This is not gonna be a end-all be-all YouTube. This is like the only way you clean a gun. We get a ton of requests on how to clean a pistol. So I do a couple types of maintenance. First thing, always make sure that the gun is cleared out. Mind the muzzle no matter what, but make sure the gun's cleaned or cleared out. This gun is inspected and we are sure that it's clear, but we're not gonna call it safe. We just know it's clear, but we're still gonna have good muzzle discipline and trigger discipline. So a couple things. We run our guns pretty hard. This one's got about 1,000 rounds through it. Up to 1,000 rounds every couple hundred. I'll break the slide off if I am not in one continuous range session and just wipe things out a little bit. I'm not doing some crazy detail strip and clean every time I'm at the range. It's just not worth it. Not to mention these guns don't need it. Sometimes you can actually do more harm than good constantly scrubbing and wiping. So we've got the Walther PPQ, the M2 model today. We're gonna look at that and we'll look at the innards of a Glock 19. So first things first is we gotta get the gun apart. This particular weapon, know your weapon's breakdown. This is not a discussion on how to break down a weapon so much as how to clean it. So the first thing I do after I've cleared the gun out is I break it apart. I'm gonna just do a quick visual inspection and make sure that everything's in good shape and like there's no parts missing, nothing broken, nothing jammed in there like a primer that may have popped out of a piece of brass or something like that. You'll notice this particular weapon has all kinds of filings in here. This is because of the ammunition that we were using. So we're gonna clean all that crud out of there and we are going to give it a good bath, get the carbon deposit out of there and oil it back up. So with this one, I'm gonna do a basic clean, and with the Glock, I'll do a more detailed strip. Guys like to make fun of me, oh, you put gloves on, you're not a man. Tell you what, I have destroyed parts of my body from being macho, my hearing, some joints. Screw that, protect yourself. Lead, some of the solvents we're dealing with, not stuff that you want to absorb over time. So take your macho stuff, keep it. Eye and ear protection, things like that are definitely a must. We're gonna be dealing with compressed air. Don't trash your body for no reason, okay? So first things first, tools. I like to use simple toothbrush. This is a cleaning tool that the military issues to infantry soldiers. They work great. Q-tips, things like that. So again, this one with the PPQ is gonna be like a basic cleaning job. So I like to use Slip 2000's gun cleaner and degreaser. Always if you use a degreaser, you need to add lubricant back because this strips it off. So after that visual inspection, I'm gonna give the parts a quick spray with the degreaser. And depending on what you use, guys get so crazy about who uses what and what's the best cleaner. There's 100 good cleaners. I know a bunch of guys that are competitive shooters that use brake cleaner and Mobil 1 motor oil to lube their gun. So don't get so hung up on that stuff. Give a quick shot of the solvent to all of the main components. In this case, 4 components: frame, slide, barrel, and spring assembly. Let that stuff soak for a minute. I take my toothbrush, and you're trying to just work things out of the action, get them out into the open so you can get them off the gun. Almost any time that I do a cleaning of this depth or deeper, I bust out my air compressor, which I have in the shop here, which is super handy, and blow the parts off, which is just a nice way of getting that stuff away from the gun and not having to use more liquid to carry it away. So that's a big problem people have. They go to clean the gun and they're like, there's more junk on here. Well, you need something to carry that dirt and fouling away from the gun, which is either more liquid, see as it drips off the gun, it's taking stuff with it, or you need to use compressed air to blow that stuff off. So I'm gonna throw my glasses on here. We're gonna grab the air compressor now that we've done a little scrub down, and we're gonna blow out the innards. You want to make sure you got plenty of paper towels to catch the debris. And that's looking nice. The barrel now, we want to make sure we get some of these carbon deposits, here's what I'm looking for, out of the barrel. So we're going to take our brass brush, and we're going to give it a good scrub. We're going to make sure that we pay attention to the chamber. We want to be careful we don't take these steel parts and jam them in to the edges of the barrel. That's how you can cause damage. So we're going to give that a good cleaning, and we're going to give it a wipe down. See all that carbon fouling coming off of there. And again, guys, if you're an infantry soldier or a Marine, don't call me up and tell me I'm not doing a good job. This is a basic cleaning. I am not going to ruin my life spending every waking minute taking care of these weapons. To be totally honest with you, it's way overkill for many, many people. Every time they go put a couple rounds through the gun, they're scrubbing them down. So I'm going to let this gun sit and air dry now that I put that degreaser on there. Once it's dry, I'm going to oil it up and reassemble it. So while that guy's drying a little bit more, I'm going to break down our Glock in the detail strip mode. Same thing as before. We're going to do a chamber check. She's empty. I'm going to break this gun down. So I've got the slide apart. Same thing with these parts. We're down to our main 4 components. Now, because I want to do a detail strip, I've got to take a few more parts out of this. I got to grab a pick. Okay, because now we're doing a detail strip, I need to pop a couple more parts out of this gun, which if you've not yet done a detail strip of your Glock, you need to be able to do this. If you're not sure and don't want to mess with it, take the gun to a gunsmith and have them do the breakdown on it. Super handy when breaking down all these small parts is a magnet tray like this. Keeps everything intact so you don't have little parts going across the floor and you can see what you got. Okay, so we've got the spring, the firing pin assembly. This is the backer plate. This plunger here is what actuates the extractor. Got one more part to yank out here. And this one I take apart. I shoot this gun a lot. I do this about every 2,000 rounds or so, break it apart like that. So now you can see the strip slide. And you saw how long that took, and that was even with me explaining things to you. Not super difficult. So I've got that there. Same thing I showed you a minute ago. I'm just going to juice up these parts with some of that degreaser. Set that in the sink. By the way, folks, this sink does not just dump into the sewer. This sink goes into a parts washer collector so that I collect all of this debris and don't send it out to the city sewer. So same thing, giving everything a good bath here with the degreaser, frame as well. I can break this down even farther if I want to. This would take me another 2 minutes to break apart the trigger group and the firing group. If you don't know what you're doing, be careful with that. You put things apart, put things together incorrectly, and you cause issues. I do that about every 4,000 rounds. Pop the 2 pins out, slide everything out, and you give it a good bath. In this case, I just did that a couple thousand rounds ago, so I'm just going to give this all a good wipe down and scrubbing. So same thing as we did a moment ago on the other gun. We're going to give it a nice bath. And for the sake of video, I'm not going to have you guys sit and watch me scrub the heck out of every little bit of every piece, because that would be boring. It'd be like watching a baking show and standing there staring at the timer. But I want you to see what I'm doing. I think, as I mentioned a moment ago, there are a lot of guys that spend way too much time thinking that they need to come home and spit polish these things. These are fighting tools. There's a difference between maintenance and overdoing it. These are not an heirloom quality rifle or something of that nature. And even if it is, there's a wrong way to be cleaning. I'm gonna show you guys my secret cleaning tool. Ready for this? Ba, ba, ba. Orange hand cleaner. So for years I have used, watch this, orange hand cleaner. My buddies think I'm nuts. Check this out. So I figure this stuff is good enough to take grease off of my hands if I'm working on my car. Why should I not use it to cut grease off of the weapon? There's a little bit of pumice in there. I wouldn't use it on every gun, so don't just go out and start scrubbing on your fine weapons with this stuff. But that pumice is an abrasive. Yeah, it's gonna wear the finish down over time. I don't care. These are fighting tools. It helps me get the thing degunkified and back in order. And it does a really good job. So call and tell me why I'm doing it the wrong way. I've been doing this for years and have yet to ruin a pistol. I figured if it's safe enough to use on my hands, I can scrub a little bit on the gun. You guys are about to get your mind blown what I'm about to do next. So I'm gonna swab this barrel out too, just like I did the other one with the steel, or with the brass rather. That bore's looking nice. That pumice really helps. All right, here's my magic gun cleaning tool. Hot water, check that out. Oh my God, it's steel, you can't get it wet. Sure you can, as long as you dry it off properly. And you gotta be careful where you're getting this moisture. Anywhere you get water as you're doing a cleaning, you need to make sure you remove it. Compressed air is a great aid for that. But once this moisture is carrying all that debris away from the gun. So once I suspended it in that solution of degreaser and orange goop, this water now is carrying it off the weapon. It's amazing how clean it'll get. So again, dudes will be freaking out watching this. I would not be doing this with my all steel 1911 running water into the frame, but these plastic fighting tools, I got no issue with it at all. So I'm rinsing all these parts. And again, for brevity, I am not showing you that I'm working these little bits and pieces here with the fine brushes, but I want you guys to get the overview. So same thing as we just showed you. I did not run water through the firing group. When I have this completely taken apart, I have no problem running water through these components, but if they're not taken apart, I don't want to get water trapped in recesses of the gun. See that? Blowing out all the nooks and crannies. Not a bad idea to have ear pro on. This is very loud. All of the small components that we broke down, we're going to scrub real good with a brush to get all the carbon and grease fouling off of them. All right, so same thing we did with the Walther. We're gonna let that guy sit. We'll bring the Walther back up. Here's the way I handle this. Guys get all weird about this part too, how you're reapplying the grease. I'm using Slips Extreme Weapons Lubricant. Take a cheap chip brush and I swab it through the weapon. Check that out. Oh man, it's crazy. I literally just wipe her down. Check that out. This is I think something way too overthought by guys. Barrel, I give it a real good wipe down. I'm totally coating the metal now because I degreased it. So I pulled all of the available protectants off. This stuff is all pretty well protected the way that the manufacturers are treating metals, but still, once you strip everything, you want to reapply a lube. So now, certain areas we don't want a bunch of lube. We don't want to totally coat the firing group. So I'm going to go back through and I'm just going to dry that stuff out a little bit. Areas we want to pay attention to are the guide rails on these guns. This is where these are the friction points. Inside of the slide here, this is lubed up nicely. So I've coated everything. Now, really simply, we're going to take a paper towel. We don't want to take everything off. We're just going to give it a wipe down. This stuff is going to dry and deteriorate over time and evaporate and dry out. So this is, even if you're not shooting it, this is something that you're going to need to do from time to time. Slide. Just going to wipe out the action here a little bit. And again, if you remember, this was just a quick clean on the Walther. This was not like a super duper detail, best clean job in the world. We want to run a patch through this barrel with we're going to want to run a patch to re-oil the inside of the barrel. Again, this gun is going to get shot a bunch. I'm not going to be crazy about going to town on this thing, because as soon as I run a couple rounds through it, all the lube that I put in here is going to be sucked right out. So all I'm doing right now is cleaning it up, making sure we got some oil in there, so when I'm back out on the range, this gun is ready to go. Lots of times guys will say, well, if you've already got it broke down, you might as well go to town on it. No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to waste 20 minutes, 30 minutes scrubbing the hell out of a gun that's immediately going to get fouled up because I'm going to shoot it again on Wednesday. So understand the context of cleaning. There's a difference between maintenance cleaning and that deep clean like we're doing on the Glock here. So we'll reassemble the Walther now that we've got it wiped out. Same order we took it apart, right? Barrel, spring, reinsert it on the slide, do a functions check on it. And because I don't want the plastic all oiled up, I'm going to give this guy a wipe down again. And now we've done just a good maintenance cleaning. So this thing's ready to go back out on the range if need be. The Glock we're going to put right back together in the same order in which we took it apart, which is very important because it can only go back together a certain way. So we're going to get this guy back together, and a couple things. Don't lube up the firing pin assembly. This part you don't want to get a bunch of lube on. This needs to be dry in there. If you get that wet, that moisture attracts dirt. Dirt clogs up the works. So don't jam a bunch of oil on the striker, not firing pin, but striker in this case. So the slide now is back in business. Barrel. Spring. Function check. We're good to go. So this gun, we did the more deep cleaning, which I like to do every few thousand rounds. The Walther, we showed you the maintenance cleaning, as I call it. every 500 or 1,000. You can push these guns pretty hard. You got to remember there's certain areas you want to make sure that you do a real good job on and check often. The ejectors, extractor rather, you get gunk and dirt and brass filings caught behind that, and you may end up losing the ability to strip rounds out of the gun, so that's something to think about. On top of that, you want to make sure that you're keeping the gun lubricated. That lube is what's keeping the parts moving fluidly. So if you use a degreaser, make sure you're putting grease back on the gun. So this is Mickey with CarryTrainer.com. Again, this was not meant to be a complete tutorial on how to take apart a gun and maintain it. This is in response to questions from our viewers on how we maintain our day-to-day carry weapons. Walther, everything's going to get re-oiled back up again. You just don't want to be dropping springs on the floor. Looking for here, because anytime we're dealing with smeared solvent on the lens. This is how it's done from our perspective. I'm now stuttering and dropping parts, making Drew extremely horny, looking at me sitting here all stuttery. Drop